Let's settle for the details of those stories now. Government says effective Thursday, April 4, there will be a reduction in import duties at all of the country's ports. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who disclosed this at the Economic Management Team's town hall meeting today, said import duties will be reduced by 50%, whereas importers of vehicles will enjoy a 30% reduction. Well, during a recent visit to Worcester, Massachusetts, President Akufo-Addo told a crowd at the town hall meeting that he plans to reform Ghana's import duty regime with the intent to alleviate high taxes at the country's ports. He's assuring Ghanaians that government is already working on the deal and indicated that he's aware of some petitions received by the state to revise the current import duty regime. We'll hear from President shortly, but first, Kojo Yankson was earlier at the Tema port speaking with some importers and exporters ahead of this announcement.
We're here at the Tema ports. Now, this is a very important installation in Ghana's economy, because 90% of customs collections, non-oil customs collections, come from right here. This is the Golden Jubilee Enclave. A lot of activity is going on behind us, but we are here for a much bigger purpose. We are here to meet the two parties whose interaction brings revenue, that 90% I talked about, coming from here. WISAG is the Wholesalers, Importers and Shop Owners Association of Ghana. They, of course, are one of the groups at the center of import activity in Ghana. Also, we're going to speak to the Customs Division, those who are in charge of Tema collections. This interaction hopefully will help you and I understand how import duty works and how it affects the cost of the products and services that you buy on a daily basis. Why is this important? It's because the president says very soon these duties are going to come down drastically. But before you ask yourself, how does that affect me? We're here to find out exactly the answer to that question. Let's meet those whose work together creates this all-important revenue and who will be most affected by any reduction. Here with me are the members of WISAG. Their president is here. Also, their secretary, Madam Ajua Ejewa. We're also honored to have Dr. Oko Apia, who is the commander for the Tema collections under Ghana Customs. Gentlemen, ladies, very nice to meet you all, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, now, we have been hearing for such a long time that there is a problem with duties, that duties are expensive, and as a result, things are expensive on the market. Can you explain that to us?
What worries the importer now is the dollar that is being changed every week at the port. We, for the decrease of or the percentage cut or whatever, that is not our problem now. What our problem is the duty
being charged
in dollars.
Right.
And it's being changed every Monday. So if, for instance, I bring the same container as my brother here, and my container comes when the duty is about, like the dollar is about 5 cedis, is pegged at 5 cedis. But if his arrive and the dollar is 5 cedis, 50 pesos, he's being pegged at 5 cedis, 50 pesos. So no matter how the percentages comes down, the dollar rate is not going to help bring things down.
That's an interesting reaction. So what you're saying is that even after the reduction in duties, you are still worried about the fact that duties are charged in dollars.
Yes.
And so even when they reduce it, you might still find fluctuations when our CD gains or loses value.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Dr. Apia, it's really good we have you, because I mean this falls directly on your desk. This is your job. So first of all, let's have a reaction to what the importers are complaining about. Since CTE was introduced, they have been feeling these differences. Tell us, did the CTE affect the cost of duties?
Thank you. I think, much as I appreciate what she's saying, let me correct the antecedent, of what she just put out there. The benchmark values that, as a result of the implementation of the pre-arrival assessment system, we introduced something like benchmark values. But customs valuation itself is derived from the agreement on customs valuation, the GATT agreement on customs valuation, and there's a protocol on that governing it. And it's all about the transaction value. So, madam, your transaction value is the actual price at which the goods were obtained or bought outside. And that is the invoice customs requires from every importer or trader. Once you provide customs with that information, customs is going to use it. And that is the method one we use. The first thing, customs will restore to other values, as you call it benchmark, as some will call it indicative values, or customs will do that where there's no basis to accept the actual price.
Give me an example of a situation where there will be no basis to accept the price.
You invoice, you scrutinize the invoice, and you can see if figures don't add up.
Right.
Just scrutinize an invoice. The figures they themselves have put there.
So
they
there's a
don't
decision.
even add up. So about paperless, yes. Before the introduction of paperless in 2017, and whatever I'm saying are based on facts. Okay. You see, still some, not all, some importers were not complaining much about duties. Still, the duty rates stood as from 2016 on some of the commodities. We were not getting the complaints. Get the facts right. Okay. Then, with the implementation of the paperless, which actually improved compliance. Yeah, that is to me, as a customs officer, I would say that's one of the major benefits of the paperless. It improved compliance because everything is now electronically. So, the chance to manipulate or doctor hard copy to customs, fizzled out. It disappeared. So whatever we are doing by the system, you couldn't manipulate hard copies. And it exposes some level of non-compliance in the whole system. So now, some of them, I'm very careful saying some, started feeling the pinch of how much the actual amount of duty they are to pay. Because if some were manipulating, the paperless has plugged out such loopholes. And it was the time those of us at the port started hearing about duties have gone up. So that is what I can say for now. But as a conversation,
Let me quickly get your thoughts on this dollar thing, and then I'll come to the president. But first, the dollar.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to say that is what government has directed. But can you see the reason why they are concerned about having to pay duties in dollars? Why can we not simply do it in cedis and even shore up our own currency?
Thank you. Duties are paid in cedis, but they are assessed in foreign currency.
Exactly.
So where the goods are coming from, as you say, China, they are assessed, UK, pound sterling, they are assessed in foreign currency. By the end of it, it's converted to the cedi equivalent for payment to be effected at the bank.
Right.
And that's where they complain about the exchange rate. And it's true that exchange rate is a factor because weekly, Tuesdays, we change the exchange rate. So when it goes down, like I think somewhere last week, it went down, and some importers who were clearing at the time benefited. They benefited because it went down. And then when it goes up to same, but that is a provision in the act that we use, that it should be assessed, CIF should be at the foreign currency, and then converted by the ruling exchange rate into cedis. So that is it.
So in essence, I mean, no matter what you do, as long as you are using the value of the product in its home country, no matter what, you will still have the same problem because they have to convert before they charge you. So there's really no solution to that problem.
Until this thing is taken to Parliament and the dollar being pegged, because as a businesswoman, I may go into China to a factory to
right. So what you're saying is that you are all ready to start diversifying once import substitution comes.
Yes.
Because the dollar is even killing us.
Right.
And the government has to resort to us, like they have Ministry of Trade have all the big volume importers. What they have to do is to engage them one-on-one on a personal level to move into that and support them with the necessary incentives and how do you call it, loans or whatever for them to transform, because it is only businessmen who can transform the nation.
Right, right. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you. This has been very informative and I feel like we've made progress. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we're going to bring the curtain down. Clearly, we have demonstrated that a little bit of dialogue can solve a number of problems, especially problems that have been established for years. So as the President's promise lies just off stage, ready to step up and surprise everybody with the magnitude of reductions of our import duties, you and I can look forward to a commensurate, hopefully.
Kojo Yankson there with those key players at the Ghana port. Well, we can now hear from the Vice President who made the announcement slashing import duties by 50% for vehicles and 30% for vehicles and 50% for general imports.
Ladies and gentlemen, the physical examination of containers in the port is to reduce, the benchmark we've given customs is to reduce the physical examination of containers at the port from 90% currently to 10% by June. Customs and other government operatives at the port should adhere to the recommendations of the risk engine under the paperless regime. The risk engine determines whether it's green, red, yellow, or red. We should adhere, modern ports adhere to the risk engine. But sometimes when they say it's green, they say we still have to inspect. So we want to move away from that, and Customs is being directed to do that, and they've started the process actually. The risk engine allows for the incorporation of specific intelligence on containers. And where containers are selected by the risk engine for examination, there will be a joint examination which must include national security. So the joint examination should always include national security. You should never have a situation where there are separate examinations of containers by national security at the gate, right? So you should all be there. Once the container is leaving the gate, it's just to make sure they've done all of it and let them leave the gate. But to do so, we cannot be uncompetitive between Ghana and our next door neighbors. That is just shooting ourselves in the foot. So, to reduce the incidence of smuggling and enhance revenue, the benchmark delivery values of imports will be reduced by 50%. This, however, for vehicles, the reduction will be 30%. This is because vehicles already attract an amount of depreciation, which if you factor it in, it will take you closer to the 50%. This will be effective from tomorrow.
And so that is how it went today at the town hall organized by the economic management team led by Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. So let's talk a little bit more about this, and let's invite some of the people who will be affected by some of the announcements made today. I have President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, on the line, who himself was there today. Dr. Obeng, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Now, I'm sorry for not appearing at your studio. We are with the commissioner. I haven't started with the modalities already. We are very excited.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've started with the modalities already.
We are doing it. We're talking. You see, we are not going to waste time on this.
I'll have you take us through it in details. But generally, how did the announcement come to you? Was it something that you knew already? It sounds like you did.
Oh no, we have petitioned through the Council of State, and then the President has promised to do something. Okay. And especially when the President entered it at his meeting with those in overseas, then it will reaffirm our hope. So it's not that we were so much optimistic, but then we had a lead and hint. Okay. That it's been listened to.
Was this your exact expectation? 50% for general imports and then 30% for vehicles?
Yeah. You know, government cannot waive everything off. And so what government did by waiving our values, you know, normally they will tell us that we are doing an evaluation. And then we say that the values are high. You understand? And so this has been in contention all this time. And so then government says, okay, now with all that arguments, whatever benchmark values are there, we are going to slash it into half so that the businessman or the importer will have some respite. And that's all that they said. So it means that the value itself has been slashed, and then if you pay duty to, it means that the duty itself has been affected positively on our behalf.
So you indicated that you're already, talking about the modalities. What are you talking about at the moment?
Yes, please.
Yes, take us through what you're talking about. What are these modalities?
Oh, yeah. Now we have to talk about the benchmark values, the status quo against the present, the 50% and all that. Mm-hmm. We have to talk about the car, the depreciation of the car and all that. All these things we have to know. We have to have a better perspective into it, so that we didn't have any doubt or we have any a challenge when we are claiming our goods henceforth.
Do you have a clear idea how this is going to be implemented? I mean, usually when there are such announcements, you go to the port and then they will say, well, this has not reflected, well, this has not been done, and then it creates its own problems. That is the kind of historical background we have to announcement like this.
Because of the apprehension that we have, the fear that we have, that normally this thing, it will be said, and then when it reaches the actual implementation, it's going to be a problem. That's why even after the program itself, we say we are not going to sleep. We have come and then we are doing with the officials who matter in this thing. So we are talking, and it's going on positively.
Will this result in a reduction of prices for the goods that your members, for example, deal in?
Yeah, I've said it all over the time. Now, the competition in the market is such that nobody can overprice him or herself out of the market. The competition is so that everybody will take advantage. If there's a reduction, a person will also reduce his goods so that you can be competitive and be in market. So this is something that will come naturally. It's not anything that somebody is going to tell somebody reduce your price or not. It will settle and it will come down. It will affect the citizenry so positively. Let me take advantage and thank the Council of State for intervening on our behalf, because we sent petition to them. This is a novelty. This is the first of its kind, I think, I've seen with the Council of State. And we thank the Vice President, we thank the President himself for this kind gesture, kind necessary gesture they've given to us.
I believe that your members are pretty excited about this announcement. We're also told regarding the modalities, what will make this actually felt on the ground. We're told by Dr. Bawumia that an app has been developed, and that app is going to allow importers to check the status of the goods and the duties payable. Are you aware? You and your members aware of this app?
Yeah, we are aware. Most of us were there. And if you saw the applause that went on, it means that we endorse whatever the Vice President said. And we are highly elated, highly excited.
So that applause came from you?
Everything that has been told us.
Oh, I was just wondering if that applause came from you. There was quite there were quite a number of applauses there in there. It came from you and your members, you say.
It came from the generality of the audience.
Very well.
You see, you can watch again because because one duty comes down, it's not going to affect me only. It's also going to affect the consumer, the final consumer. So it's not something that is let's talk about cars. You ladies, you like cars. Now you are excited.
Everybody likes cars. Everybody likes cars.
Yeah, you are excited, aren't you? Tell me. Because you can buy a car at a cheaper cost.
But again, that's the point, really, because and we might not be able to get the full details and the answers at the moment, because you say you are still, discussing the modalities. Usually, people want to know and have the assurance that when these announcements come at the top, it will certainly trickle down. But let me also ask you. You said you know about the app. Do you know how it works? Can you share that with us?
In fact, it is very new to me, I must admit, and that maybe it's new altogether. So we will also go for the information on it, and it's excited. People also applauded to this. It means that people will accept it because everything is now done electronically. Okay. We are in a digital age, and we cannot do without that. So it's a welcome news as well. Okay,
I'll have you go shortly, but then let me also find out from you. There has been a major issue with the the way that the economy has been performing, if you like, especially based on the performance of the city. And you and your members have been one of the groups that have been really affected by this. Now, the people who spoke to my colleague Kojo Yankson at the port yesterday said that it's not about the reduction necessarily. It's about how the goods that are being imported, or how the import duties are being priced in dollars. They think that reducing it will not necessarily make much
so we are talking about pegging the dollar for the purposes of payment of duty, and we've complained about this for quite a long time. So government think that if you do that, then they are subsidizing the dollar itself, and then we are going back and forth from that. But then we are also providing comfort that if government do it, it will go in a long run to help all of us. So we see if in future that policy can be adopted, and it will help us very well.
And finally, Doc, does this announcement wipe away all the pains that your people have had with the performance of the city?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I've told you severally that when the city depreciates, when the dollar appreciates in value and all that, all that it means is a loss of capital for us. And so that's one area that we are always also talking about. Of course, we have to also look at that area before this thing will make meaning. Like you are asking of if it's going to affect prices positively and all that. If one variable, of course, comes down and another variable goes up, then the benefits will virtually be nil. So we also have to talk about the depreciating of the city, and we will continue to do that.
You will continue to do that. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Obeng. And I'm sure that along the line we will have you in the studio so we can break this down further.
God bless you.
And you give us more information as well as to how this is happening. This is taking effect at the port. Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of GUTA. Well.